VTubing is better for ladies. That way you avoid people commenting on your IRL looks and knowing how you look to stalk you in public. I'll be honest with you, having done a little bit of research into the corporate world of VTubing, just because you're a VTuber doesn't mean you don't get stalked. There are very dedicated people who stalk VTubers in real life. There was definitely like a VTuber who was given a bugged gift, like a gift from a fan that had a tracker in it, and then he showed up at her house and like tried to break into her home. Welcome on, Ocean. Glad to have you, Sweet Bean. Yeah, gotta keep this calm. Yeah, flat colors. I got introduced to VTubing through HoloLive. Learned the vibes here on Twitch with indie VTubers feel so much. Yeah, that's my thing. It's like, I guess it's like, what's your personal like are you interested in the VTubing scene because of the people, or are you into it because of the character? I think that's like the differentiation point. Like if you're into the VTubing scene because you're like, oh, you know, these are people who are just happen to like representing themselves with these unique character designs, then indie VTubers is definitely there. But if you're looking for like a character experience, it like you're trying to, you want to watch an anime, but that anime is just about a character playing a video game that you like, then that's much more the corporate style. I mean, yeah, but it's harder than knowing how someone looks. Yeah. It also means it's like a much huger deal when stuff like that does get leaked. But yeah, no, I definitely get what you mean. I think it does contribute to the VTuber space being in general more welcoming to women than the average streaming space is. That is a generalization, of course. That's not, you know, everyone's situation varies, but I do feel like the VTubing space is, because you're removing basically the attraction element. Welcome on in, Swordier. Glad to have you, Sweet Bean. Can we get a shout out for Swordier? The layer of anonymity is certainly appealing. Also, welcome on in, Sathan. I don't think I said hi to you earlier. Welcome on in. Swordier, heckin' super Sweet Bean. Also very handsome. Japanese YouTubers have made it a point not to vlog. There is this fucking, I don't remember if he's Japanese or Chinese, but there's definitely a like YouTuber in Asia somewhere who tries his absolute fucking hardest to avoid including any shots of his face, to the point where when he accidentally included a shot of his face in like basically like in a side view in a mirror that's like on there for like 5 frames, it's the most rewatched part of the video. Top female VTuber streamers worldwide are anime VTubers. You can Google it. Oh no, I'm not surprised. Like that does make sense, because it's, you know, I'll be honest, how do I phrase this? I think that there is a substantial portion of the population who views streams with ladies not as entertainment vectors, but merely as ways to experience women, because they don't do that normally. That there's and that's part of why the anime style does better in terms of like numbers and discoverability, is because that's a style that those men are already probably deeply familiar with. I remember seeing a video talking about when Dream did his face reveal and he's ugly was trending on Twitter in minutes. Oh, that's because Dream's fan base was toxic as fuck. But no, like, which is like, and when I say that, that is in no way to like say like, oh, you know, women have it easier, or like, you know, they don't actually have to be entertaining, because that's not true. Women, the VTuber field is so busy that women, like ladies, have to be entertaining to succeed, because you know, it is content creation, and like streaming is a very crowded field. So you have to do something to set yourself apart. But I do think the fact that VTubing, it almost like appeals to, like, you know, because it appeals to the men for whom interacting with a real woman is genuinely, like, you know, like they don't know how to engage with a real woman, but there's like, this is an anime character, I know how to interact with, like, I've dealt with this before. You do all of the anime-isms at them. You know, it's almost like unironic. It's almost unironic, like NPC streamers, I think, is kind of what's going on there. Where they're like, you know, it's like, oh, I treat you like an anime girl, and, you know, admittedly, I'm sure that, like, they're lady streamers, lady VTubers for whom the idea of being treated like an anime girl is fucking horrifying. Because women in anime go through some shit. Can we talk about that? Like, that's I think, that's an underappreciated thing that... Don't forget to AKA super chat the cute anime girl. I'm sure they'll say your name. And, like, I think that's, like, the intrinsic thing. Because, like, idol, like, at least in Japan, you know, to some degree, I think it's carried over here in the States. VTubing is so connected to the idol culture because that's how it started. Like, VTubing is literally digital idols. And idol culture has some deeply fucked up shit associated with it. Because idol culture, if you're an idol in Japan, you are actively encouraged to make every interaction you have as parasocial as possible. You're not allowed to set boundaries with people because in doing that, you're basically like you're basically alerting the viewer that no, this interaction that you've had, the relationship you have is one-sided. I also remember Pokimane calling her audience broke boys because they didn't want to buy her overpriced cookies. You know what? Fucking respect. Would you buy tickets for a Starkey Morph concert? I don't have the... I would need to... I mean, I might do a karaoke stream at some point. Maybe that'll be the next point goal. It's hard to approach a woman IRL as a guy because they always have the advantage. Guys always take the first steps and women can decline their advances because they're used to being approached by multiple guys. So I personally chalk this up to toxic masculinity. And I have at least one piece of evidence that makes me think it's the case. There was a post that went semi-viral recently of a female-to-male trans person who posted on Tumblr about how deeply lonely it was transitioning, not because they were trans, but because they were suddenly visually identifiable as a man. That he had realized in the process of transitioning that a lot of the armor that women need to put up as a result of being treated poorly due to toxic masculinity makes being a man very lonely and reinforces that toxic masculinity because it suddenly becomes a personal failing and not a structural failing of society that, like, they are lonely and can't interact with women in a healthy way. So it's complicated because it is ultimately, I think, a bunch of people trying to look after themselves. I think it's the thing about society that makes me the most sad. I would argue that toxic masculinity is the origin of basically all human loneliness right now. Like, if I could fix one thing about society to, like, make the world a better place, I think it would genuinely be to demystify the idea that a man can only behave in a single way. And I think that would do the most good to society as a whole. Who is the soul with Pokimane? Who is the soul with a Pokimane emote? It's Jaw, right? I actually don't know. I mean, it goes both ways. We've seen the social media women who don't... Oh, no, for sure. Toxic masculinity is not just men. It is 100% women, too. Women... There are women who extremely reinforce toxic masculinity, and those people need to be called out as well. I thought toxic masculinity was just used to flog hustler university courses. Welcome on in, Risk. Glad to have you, Sweet Band. That's why AKB48 and all their sister groups are made that way, to hyper cash in on all the fanboys. Yeah, no, like that. To get back to the original idea of like where this all started, the reason I can't move this thing anymore. Reset partially, no. Reinforces like needing a well-paying job. Well, like No, so the idea that, like, you know, it's those like lady creators who talk about, like, you know, like how it's like there's no good men anymore, how they're all, you know, like how a man's only job is to be basically like a you know, a credit card dispenser, like that, like they are to manage their own emotions. Like there are genuinely like toxic things that encourage the like the discussion of like toxic masculinity that do come from lady content creators. Usually it's rage bait, but also like it's rage bait that has like a very real societal cost. Fun fact, the stream can be easily derailed by throwing a handful of seeds or some old bread in the chat. You don't really, you have no idea how right you are, because we're playing haha funny cleaning game and I'm talking about the structural problems of society. For all the crap we give Popmon about being a just chatting streamer, also welcome on Dick Tallahassee, go have you, Sweepy. For all the crap we give Popmon about being a just chatting streamer, I think I'm probably worse. Because Popmon can finish a 10-minute video in 40 minutes. I can't. Sounds like the kind of woman that wanted. Yeah, no, it got turned into a meme because of the unrealistic expectations. But the lady who was like, I'm looking for a guy, 6'5", blue eyes. What was it? 6'5", blue eyes, finance. Fucking like those. That's kind of like an unrealistic expectation. And like when you're broaching that as like the only kind of man that you will settle for, and then even to frame that in and of itself as settling, that it is such a fucking personal cost to you to have a boyfriend who provides you that much, is very like it definitely encourages the really fucked up parts of toxic masculinity. Like I'm glad that she got memed. Like, she unironically is a shitty person and she deserves to be called out for her shitty behavior. Like, it is the kind of conversation that just needs to happen, but it's also really fucking hard to broach because there are people who are making a fuck ton of money off of it and who are propagating it for their own well-being. I don't think it's all rage bait. People are out of touch for real. Like when Pokemon said, "We hate the rich." I mean, okay. Pokimane is rich. I don't know if she's in, like, the millionaire range. She probably is. There's something to be said about, like, the self-awareness. Because there are people who are wealthy and are self-aware and, like, just don't make themselves a problem. The Costco CEO being one of them. The guy who founded and made... the guy who founded and then succeeded with... Little Caesars, because he saw the value in a really cheap pizza, and like knew that there were people who needed that and hasn't. But shut up. She's definitely in the top 1%. She rich? Yeah. I think because it's one of those things where it's like I think it is the majority, but I don't think it's like, you know, I would say all billionaires are bastards. But there's a threshold at which point it's like there's a level of self-awareness. I never miss it. I do think Pokimane could probably use her platform for better. Like, you know, hey, I'm having this conversation and I'm a fucking no-name McShit in the middle of the furry VTuber Twitch. You know, I have my dedicated following, but I don't have a lot of people who are going to be like, you know, a lot of the people I'm talking about this to presumably already have like well-formed and educated opinions on like what is and isn't healthy behavior. Pokimane, however, has an audience of millions of presumably like adolescents to early 20s men who would benefit a lot from hearing a conversation like this where their struggles are acknowledged, but also they're pushed to be better and to acknowledge they don't have to live their life one specific way. Little Caesars taking over the Super Bowl is still wild to me. Last time I tapped into a PopMed stream, I saw him and another streamer struggling to solve a 33 by 10 puzzle. Struggling to solve 33 times 10. Yeah, that happened. Wish we could teach self-awareness in schools. You're not a nobody, you're among top 3,000 chatty birds worldwide. I mean, okay, I say I'm nobody. Realistically, I am in the top 5% of streamers on the platform, but also I think it's more an acknowledgement of the limited, like, my ability to impact cultural discourse is limited by the fact that I exist within a niche within a niche within a niche. And that niche is presumably people who are already well put enough together to not really need the lectures and the soapbox that I'm on about. My local crow populations are quite chatty. You can have this conversation because you're a nothing bird. Yeah, like, you know, and also, like, you know, like, me doing this isn't really me taking a risk. Because, like I said, I'm very much appealing to the fact that, like, I expect y'all to be mature enough where, like, this kind of conversation happens, and it's a good thing. When you're dealing with, you know, deeply repressed 20-something men who have made the concept of masculinity part and parcel of their personality, and then those people also pay your fucking bills. That even said, she could live off of the money she has right now for the rest of her life. So, like, it's not that much of a risk for her, except for the, you know, the possibility. Starkey admitted to being appealing. I'm so proud of you, honey. I'm not saying... Fine, I'll accept it. I don't have a rebuttal for everything, even though, like, I recognize that, like, clearly there's something here. You know? Masculinity, what's that? Masculinity is when you have a wife who brings you a sandwich after you pentakill in League of Legends top lane. If it's not clear, I don't play League of Legends. And also, she's wearing nothing. This is a bit, by the way. I don't actually believe this. Oh my god. But no, I recognize that there is something about this stream that people find appealing, because otherwise you wouldn't keep coming back. No one likes wasting their time. It's when you give a guy a pickle jar and he opens it with bare man hands. I still... Is this One-Winged Angel x Cotton Eye Joe? One-Winged Angel beta... God damn it, Silva Gunner. Silva Gunner, you fuck. So one of my friends who is trans, I think one of their most gender-affirming moments, like, they had just started HRT, and they were like, they couldn't get a pickle jar open, so they just, like, defeated... They're like, you know, hold up, hands, one moment, hands. They're just like, hands. And they just handed the pickle jar over to my brother, and my brother opened it immediately, and they were like, that's weirdly validating. Masculinity is when you what leaves you when you wear pink stripped thigh highs. Welcome on up, Brianna. Glad to have you, sweet bean. Unironically, though, I think the most masculine trait I can think of, I guess to be fair, it's like just a healthy neurological trait, but the one I associate the most with masculinity is confidence. And I think confidence inherently comes from a place of being self-assured. Like, I don't... Like, when I think confidence, I think someone who doesn't need to be validated by others. So, like, the idea that, like, oh, like, your masculinity disappears when you put on something that's effeminate, I think that's deeply unmasculine to be so... Like, if your masculinity is so fragile that, like, you being put in a dress is it immediately feminizes you. That in and of itself is intrinsically, like, demasculating. Like, you know, oh, so that can't be me then. I swear to God. No, it's because, you know, the fact pink used to be considered the masculine color before the modern era. Like, fucking, like, before, you know, like, we had the internet, it was understood that blue was more of the color for girls, and pink was the color for boys because pink was close to red. which is the color of blood. Like, this is... Literally, pink is, like, historically speaking, one of the most masculine colors across, like, a variety of time, like, you know, time periods and locations. So, like, why is it... why is it suddenly, like, a problem for a man to wear it now? And the answer is because someone's making money off of it. I just, like, can we just, like... didn't the Tate brothers get arrested today in the UK? Hey, UK, do something right for once. Keep them locked up there like, forever. Like, disallow them access to the internet. Just keep them there for the foreseeable future. Don't let them out. Ever. It was thanks to a British or French queen. She decided to invert the colors for her baby, and now we're in this mess. Oh my god. Also, the concept of boys' toys and girls' toys was literally a marketing technique. Because there used to just be a toys aisle, but then toy manufacturers realized that if they sold them as boys' toys and girl toys, that they could get an extra aisle, because they could have an aisle dedicated to boy toys and one dedicated to girl, like, toys for girls. So they did that. It's literally gendered for capitalism's sake. And I'm wondering if that might just, like, not be, like, the structure of everything, you know? the problem with everything that is in, like, the world right now is the result of some capitalist incentive. Those sluts stole our heels. Listen, all I'm saying is if you want to kick the herd as much as possible, high heels is definitely the fucking way to go. Speaking of boy toys and girl toys, what the fuck is up with girl toys and being poop-related? That one's also that one's gendered, I believe, on the idea of like, basically, I don't want to say brainwashing, but like immediately putting into a girl's idea, like like as soon as they're born, immediately starting to, like, train them to be normalized to, like, child rearing and housework. You know, the idea that, like, yeah, it's basically maternity training, but done to a child, which is weird. Straight people are weird. The problem with boy toy versus girl toys, you know how most women don't do dirty jobs like trash men? That trash toy truck will most likely go to a boy. I mean, yeah, but it's also like... to be fair, I think that's a discussion in and of itself, that, like, capitalism seemingly looks down on work like that. You know, like, taking care of the trash, cleaning, all that kind of stuff is kind of is considered less valuable, even though it arguably is more important because it needs to get done for society to function. But, like, that's a result of classism rather than, like, you know, rather than something intrinsic to the concept of like, you know, I guess there's some aspect of, like, there's some aspect of sexism in there too, because the idea is, like, oh, women are too frail and what's the term they use to describe someone who is like would pass out a lot, like someone who's like not anemic, but like sickly. They're too frail and sickly and dainty to be, you know, to be doing hard work. And then meanwhile there's the girls who were raised on the barn who, like, at age 6 helped a cow birth. Like, fucking, like, no, ladies are perfectly capable of doing dirty jobs themselves. Don't get it twisted. Arguably, though, the job that is most strongly associated with ladies, being a midwife, is pretty fucking gross. Because that is literally the birthing process. And birthing is horrifying. I need to show you a progress. Let me send something on Discord. What do you mean dirty jobs pay more? Look at people working in oil rigs. Also, it's the cause of the gender pay gap. No ladies work at oil rigs or Antarctic crab hunting. The exception does not make the rule. But I would argue that that's less like that's not something that's intrinsic to our species so much as it is something that's a societal like idea, you know? Like let's say let's say we have fucking like Schrodinger's child. We don't know its gender. We just know that it is a child, and then it is reared and raised in a world that is divorced from the concept of gender. Does the fact that that child grows up to be a trash man indicate something specific about about their gender identity? It might, but also there's kind of no way for us to know because that's something that we don't really have the history or, testing methodology for. Wait, I already did look at my Discord reply. Okay, like this is fucking... You see, this is actually a great toy for children. I actively encourage all children to get this toy, regardless of gender. The fucking chainsaw. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what gender your kid is. Give them a toy chainsaw. But we do know you can Google the percent of male and female workers at dirty jobs. Child's first victim. Well, what I'm saying is that number is intrinsically associated with because women getting pushed out of STEMs and into the teen fields. What is the? I can't remember the T stands for. It's something early education and nursing. Like there is a societal pressure, I think, to in the same way that it's weird to see a masculine nurse, even though having been raised by a nurse, I can confirm being a nurse is fucking gross as shit. That's a field primarily dominated by ladies. But that is a result of societal pressure because nursing is a derivation of the midwife, it gets its roots off of the idea of the midwife who functions during, functions to help out during birthing. I think it used to be a woman should be protected from the worries of voting, or they should be subjecting themselves to hysteria for it's just having to deal with politics. Yeah, it's like, and don't get me wrong, like I can see where you're coming from, where there's that correlation. It's just important to kind of mind whether or not that's something authentic or something that's a result of societal pressures. But also, thank you for the hydrate, and also welcome on to Night Liking. Glad to have you, Sweet Bean. Can you shout out for Night Liking? We're currently discussing sociopolitics. It's actually going pretty smoothly. But no, some amount of it is almost certainly a result of the it's in the same way that everyone's like, oh, what do you think of the children? It's kind of used as an excuse. It's the tiny woof. It's the tiny furry. And it is very tiny. Thank you for the shout. No problem. When I saw the toy at Walmart, I did a double take. A bubble-blowing chainsaw targeted towards toddlers is wild. Listen, if I fucking saw that, I'm 100% buying that for my nephew. I'm gonna be the cool uncle. I'm gonna be the cool uncle that buys my nephew the bubble-blowing chainsaw. Admittedly, my sister and brother-in-law are the ones who have to deal with that. Admittedly, as far as toys go, just give him a regular chainsaw with no chain. I don't think he can lift that currently. I'll be the cool gunkle. Kids are great when you're allowed to give them back. Someone said that in stream one time, and I continue to think about the wisdom in that. Because it's probably the single best description of interacting with children. When you don't have to deal with whatever fucking tantrum they're throwing, interacting with children is a fascinating experience. What do you mean, give them back? If as an uncle, someone who doesn't have kids myself, I might be asked one day to be like, hey, can you babysit the nephew? And I'm like, yeah, of course. That would be, I would argue, a fascinating experience to watch the kid kind of like figure out the world and to talk to him about like what his interests are. But also, if I had to deal with that, like, you know, if he had a tantrum, I'd be like, okay, whatever, like, it's not that big of a deal. If I had to deal with that tantrum every day, I would fucking end myself. Can safely be put into a blender because Vaporeon can turn themselves into water and back it well. Basically being a grandparent. Yeah. That's like my mom, like, really loves her grandkid. She also is, like, completely understanding of the fact that, like, me and my brother do not want fucking children we do not want children at all. Like, the idea of it's actually such an incredible stressor that I'm like, no, absolutely, under no circumstances. Babies are great in gecko form. Got one over the weekend. I love him. His name is Zip. But no, like, you know, but she recognizes, she's like, nah, you know, I want more grandchildren. I also can't pressure you into having children because, like, gestures wildly. Gestures vaguely towards everything that's happening around us. All right. This is a big ship. Am I just bad at cleaning things? I have to ask, can you dye a Vaporeon by pouring, like, powdered radish on them? Oh, look, I got a shiny Vaporeon. You just fucking, like, you're just casually hiding away the dried, ground up radish. Did you know that it became illegal to sell your child in 1967? We missed out. Who would want to buy a child? Are there fucking, like, the baby markets? Like, it's like the coconut man. I've got a lovely bunch of infants. What does powdered radish do to water? It dyes it purple. I have a meme image for this. Who else is gonna make my iPhone and Nikes? Oh my merciful! The children, they yearn. The children, they yearn for the factories. It's sad that we can no longer put children in the mail cars on trains. It's so sad that we can no longer it starts naming horrifying shit that like used to be like. So sad we can't put children on train tracks anymore. Ever since old Johnny Train ran over 67 children. There is something I don't know what it says about me as a person that I do find the idea of horrible things happening to tiny infants extremely funny. Like, not like, you know, exclusively in the abstract sense. I would not actually want that to happen.